The first joint practice with the Carolina Panthers is done and in the books. Let's talk about all of the things that we learned today. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be talking about the first joint practice with the Carolina Panthers and all of the things that we learned facing our first opponent in real reps, first team versus first team, and all of that stuff against a pretty solid team in the Carolina Panthers. They surprised me more than I expected once I started doing a deeper dive into them. But before we go into any of that stuff, guys, a quick reminder, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so. 67% of you guys who watch my videos are not subscribed, and the easiest way to help the channel out is by hitting the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but that's that. Let's hop right into today's coverage. So let's start by saying we'll go with the offense and the defense, and then we'll go that way. So let's start by saying that the offense had a really up and down type of day. The Carolina Panthers defense is a very, very solid defense. This is why we should be scouting a ton of their players, because they had a good defense last year, and it's one of the things that they added players. And that's why I talked about some of the linebackers and some of the different situations, because they're switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4. So some of these guys are going to shake free. That being said, they did give our offense some fits. Aaron Rodgers had a relatively good day going on the fly, doing things and hitting some really tight windowed passes. But they did give Zach Wilson a rough time today in practice. This is probably Zach Wilson's worst day of practice this offseason that we were seeing. A couple of missed fires, really under pressure. The defensive line for the Carolina Panthers gave this offensive line some fits today. There are some highlights and some studs that really dominated on the offensive line today for the New York Jets. Specifically, Mekhi Becton absolutely dominated today and continues to stack up good days. And we'll talk about this in a sec. We're talking about the quarterbacks right now, but it was an up and down day for the quarterback. Zach Wilson having a relatively bad day, and Aaron Rodgers having a hard time dealing with the pressure that was coming off of the edges for the first team offensive line. Now, the interior of the offensive line for the first team looked really, really solid, but we are starting to see that, Billy Turner, one, I've said it before, is not an NFL caliber tackle right now and can't be a serious option to start. And Max Mitchell, when he was going up against, again, one of the better edge rushers in the NFL in Burns, had a hard time. Now, that's not an excuse. Your job is to cover guys like Brian Burns. And you know what? We face guys like Greg Rousseau and Micah Parsons and Matt Judon this year. Just because the edge in front of you is an elite edge doesn't change the fact that you need to block him. And so a little bit of a concern there. But moving forward, we got some news that, Dwayne Brown is going to be ready for week 1. So that's exciting. But also, I think Mekhi Becton is stacking so many good days on top of one another. This is like 6 or 7 days of practice where Mekhi Becton has absolutely dominated. And it's going to get to a point to where Mekhi Becton is going to force this offensive coaching staff to give him reps with the ones at left tackle, because he absolutely dominated today in drills when he was facing the ones on their side, when he was facing the twos on their side. There's one play where he absolutely just ragdolls the outside linebacker and a run play and just takes him to the ground. Just phenomenal practices by Mekhi Becton, and you're starting to see the ramp up in the comfortability in the knee, ramp up in his conditioning, and he can last longer, because we are having some really, really hot days out there for practice and stuff. And so it's good to see that he's lasting longer in practice, that he's taking on more reps, and that when he's taking those reps, he's absolutely dominating. And sooner rather than later, he is going to force this offensive coaching staff to give him reps with the ones, because he absolutely deserves it. Now, a lot of really, really solid things from the offense today in terms of wide receivers being able to get open, Garrett Wilson taking the next step into running full team drills and full contact drills as well. The running backs able to break free a couple of times, and really good just adjustments from Aaron Rodgers at the line. There was a play, he adjusted at the line, hit Nick Bawden, and Nick Bawden took it for 30. Really, really good stuff there. Now transitioning to the defense, the New York Jets defense is absolutely dominant, and there's no other ways to say it. This defensive line gave the Carolina Panthers offensive line fits with the first team, the second team, really, really good reps from a lot of really good players, and some players that you didn't expect to have good reps. Solomon Thomas with a sack, today. Michael Clemens with a sack off of the edge today. And the Carolina Panthers offensive line isn't anything to be trifled with. They are a really solid offensive line unit. So the New York Jets creating fits there. Also, the linebackers doing a much better job today in terms of their coverage and in their run support. We didn't really hear too much except for the 2-minute drill at the end where we went into our bend, don't break, let everything be caught underneath, and we're just going to tackle it, and the whole job is to stop a touchdown. We didn't really hear anything about, the top being taken off of the defense or anything like that. There were some miscommunications, and that happens, but in terms of when things were going the right way, when we were playing coverages the way that we were supposed to, the defensive line was getting home quickly, and the coverage unit was doing a fantastic job. Now, we know that Sauce didn't practice today. He was dealing with a quad, and they held him out for precautionary reasons. Brandon Eccles steps in to play with the ones, and he gets himself an interception today. DJ Reed, Jordan Whitehead, and Tony Adams with PBUs today. Phenomenal performances from those guys. And again, just stacking good days upon good days upon good days from this coverage unit. And I'm not just talking about, the Sauce Gardner, the DJ Reeds, the Michael Carter II, also with the pass breakup. I'm not just talking about our cornerback room. I'm talking about our entire back seven, from the linebackers to the safeties to the corners. Jordan Whitehead continues to stack good days upon good days. Free safety Tony Adams continue to stack good days upon good days. And these linebackers and corners working together, our defense is truly going to have the opportunity to be dominant. And again, today, against a Carolina offensive line who is pretty solid, and missing Carl Lawson and Sauce Gardner, two key pieces to this defensive unit's production, weren't there, and we were still able to dominate. So really, really good signs, really good things we're seeing from the defense. And again, from the offense, this is the first time that this offense is seeing a different look with the defense. And that being said, we were still able to move the ball. There were a couple 3-and-out situations. In the 2-minute drill, Aaron Rodgers went 3-and-out, which wasn't great. He was 1 of 3 passing in that drill. But again, we're missing Garrett Wilson, and there's injuries and different things happening. The offensive line isn't the offensive line that we want. And this isn't me trying to come up with excuses. It's just trying to give context. We still in a situation in a game time, what happens if Garrett Wilson is hurt? What happens if the offensive line is hurt? You need to be able to adjust to those things, but this is day 1 of joint practices. It's really, really imperative that we don't overreact right now. And that's really it. The one thing that I will say from Robert Saleh is that the expectation is that Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson are going to take all of the reps during the game against the Carolina Panthers, the preseason game. So the goal is to get Zach Wilson to get a whole bunch more reps. I'm hoping that he plays a full half. And the same thing goes for Mekhi Becton. I'm hoping that he plays for a full half. And the other thing, too, is sneakily, no one's reporting this, but I have people that are at the Carolina camp, and I'm asking them about Joe Tittman, who is running with the 2s, and Joe Tittman is doing absolutely phenomenal, and I think is going to be pushing for a starting reps with the 1s sooner rather than later, unless we really do decide who our offensive line is going to be after the Carolina game, and we solidify the fact that it's going to be Connor McGovern. But I think Joe Tittman will be starting at center sooner rather than later in terms of I would keep an eye out after the bye week. The first 6 weeks, first 7 weeks are going to be Connor McGovern's, but if Joe Tippmann continues to stack these practices, which he absolutely has been dominating at practice with the second line, if he continues to do those things, he's going to be a starting center sooner rather than later. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. What storylines are you interested in following during the Carolina Panthers joint practices over the next couple of days? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.